Welcome back. In the last session, we have discussed what is the master data and what are the different types of master data. In the today's session, we will discuss in detail about vendor master and its required configuration to create the vendor. So we'll discuss different topics like what is the business partner and why it's mandatory in SAP S4 HANA, then what is the use of BP role and what are the different BP roles, then what is the purpose of BP grouping and vendor account group, then what is the BP relationship that is from one BP to another BP, and what is the use of partner function in business transaction. Then we'll see what is the transaction for a business partner, then what are the different tables and report for vendor master. So we'll start with business partner. So business partner is not a new concept in SAP S4 HANA. It was already exist in ECC as well, but in S4 HANA it is a mandatory, meaning we cannot create a customer or a vendor without creating a business partner. Business partner is a mandatory. So what is the business partner? Let's take an example. Imagine there is a local bakery which has a business relationship with flour supplier. Now, this local bakery procures the raw material from this flour supplier, and it also sells cake and pastry to this flour supplier. Now, in this example, in the first case, when this local bakery procure the raw material, that time this flour supplier will act as a vendor. In the second case, when this local bakery sells cake and pastry, that time this flour supplier will act as a customer. Now, in this example, flour supplier is playing a role of both vendor as well as customer. So in the earlier version of SAP, that is in ECC, there were two different transactions to create a vendor and to create a customer. There the transaction XD01 to create a customer and XK01 to create a vendor. Now in S4 HANA, there is a single transaction that is BP. So these transactions are obsolete in HANA. Now, why it's mandatory and why it's useful? So there is a common information for both vendor and customer. So this business partner contains the general information, the general data, which is common across all the role. Like what is the name of that business partner, what is the postal code, email address, street, city, country, region, tax related information. All this information is common for this vendor as well as the customer. So in ECC, there were a duplication of the data. And even if there is a change, suppose there is an address change for this floor supplier, so we need to make sure we have to change at both the places, in XK01 for vendor and XD01 for customer as well. So this is the duplication of data. So to align this data and to avoid this inconsistency, now in SAP S4 HANA, we can create a business partner which contains the common information, that is the general data, which is required for all the role, vendor role, customer role. So now in this example, local bakery procure the raw material. That time, this floor supplier will act as vendor. So we'll create this floor supplier as a business partner and we'll extend this business partner role to vendor role. In second case, if it sells to ABC company, so in this case, we will create ABC company as business partner and we will extend this business partner role to customer role. So even if there is a single entity, for example, here in ABC company, it's customer. But tomorrow, if you're procuring local bakery procuring from ABC company, that time we don't need to go to another transaction XK01 to create a vendor. We can simply extend this BP role to vendor role as well. Or in other way, today it is a vendor role, but if tomorrow we are selling to floor supplier, then that time we can extend this business partner role to customer role. I hope it's clear. Next topic is business category. So in every time, first we need to select the business category when we create a BP. So let me show in the system. Here, we need to select person, organization, group. So this is the business category. Every time, first we need to select which category we want that business partner. See, the name itself indicate person. That is an individual record. When we want to create a record for individual, it can be employee. So all the employees can be created as a business partner in person category. Or there is a contact person. So in the next topic, we'll see the BP relationship where one BP related to other BP. So for example, there is a salesperson who is responsible for customer. So that time we will create that salesperson as a business partner in person category. In organization, there is a company or a subsidiary company. So mostly for vendor and customer, we will select the business partner as an organization. And when there is a involvement of partners, so more than one people involved, that time we can create a business partner as a group. Now, the next topic is BP grouping and vendor account group. So as I said, first we need to create a business partner, that is the general data, and then we need to extend that business partner to customer role or vendor role. So in vendor role, we have two types of role. In the FLVN00, that is purchasing view. So we'll maintain for which purchase organizations this supplier is applicable, and for financial view, here we maintain for which company code this supplier is applicable. This is for vendor. For customer, there will be sales. So for which sales organization that is required, and for financial, that is for which company code. Now, in SAP, this BP grouping and vendor account group both are linked. So let's understand what is the use of BP grouping and vendor account group. So let's say we have procuring a raw material from export supplier and import supplier. Now I want categorization of the export and import supplier for reporting purpose. How can I do that? And in order to differentiate export and import supplier, we can have the different number range, right? And this number range can be linked to the BP grouping. So in this case, we will create a BP grouping. We'll create two BP grouping, one for export, let's say EP01 I created for export, and for import IP01. And I can assign the number range. So for one series, like starting from 1 to 1999, it will be export supplier, and onward, I can give the number range for import supplier. So 1 to 199 export, and 2000 onward import. Or there can be a few fields like email address, postal code. Let's say postal code is a mandatory for all import supplier, but it can be optional for export supplier. Or there can be the other way around. There are few fields which are mandatory for export supplier but optional for import supplier. So in general data screen, in BP general data, let's here when I will select a organization when I have to create a vendor, and here I need to select the grouping. So for example, here I selected the grouping RVEN. So here you can see there are different screens. Now RVEN. So here I suppose, for example, there is a field postal code. This is mandatory for import supplier, but it's optional for export supplier. So these things can be controlled at grouping level. You will see in the configuration part that we call field selection. So whether we want to that field should be optional or mandatory or a hide, we can suppress the field as well. So most of the time in interview will be asked what is the use of vendor account group and what is the use of BP grouping and how they are related to each other. So we need to tell for categorization of the supplier, if you have different types of supplier, then that categorization can be done through grouping. So we can create the number of grouping as per the types of supplier, and we can assign the different number range, and also we can control the field status. So in number range, we can select the external number or internal number. So external number means user need to provide the number. Internal number, that is system will generate the number. So let's say we have created a business partner and the number is generated for import supply. We created a business partner and number is generated, let's say 2000. Now, similar to BP grouping, there will be a vendor account group. So BP grouping that will control only general data screen. So this is the general data. Here we will provide all the general information of the supplier, and then we'll save it, right? So after that, it will generate a number depend on the grouping, which number range we have assigned. So let's say, for example, we selected here IP01 number range. It's not configured, but we'll configure it now. And that time it will generate the number as a BP 2000. And this field selection optional mandatory hide, that is only for this role. Here you can see there are different roles. BP general data, SAP general data. This is for general data screen, only general data. So this BP grouping will control this number range and the field selection only for general data. That is 000. And the vendor account group, here we have a different roles. There is standard role for purchasing, FLVN00, FLVN01 for purchasing, then FLVN00 for company code. So this role FLVN00 or FLVN01. So the field under this role that will be controlled by vendor account group. So here, suppose we created the BP grouping, BP as a 2000. Now, when we extend this BP to vendor account, when BP to vendor role, that time in the system we have configuration whether we want this BP number and vendor number should be same. In most of the business, they give both number as the same. So in the configuration, we have to tick that checkbox that numbering should be same, so that when we extend this BP to vendor, the same number will be generated here for supply. That's vendor 2000. I hope this is clear. So BP grouping controls the general data screen, and vendor account group controls the vendor screen, that is the purchasing view FLVN01 and the company code view, that is FLVN00. Similarly, we have the customer account group. So in the today's session, we will see only vendor master data. But similar, if you want to extend that BP to customer, similarly, we can maintain that grouping for customer as well. Now, in the configuration, first we need to create business partner grouping and assign that number range. Second, we'll create vendor account group and we'll assign the number range. And in the third case, we need to link both the business partner and vendor. If this configuration is missing, we cannot extend that business partner to a vendor role. So let's see in the system. So first we'll create BP grouping in SPRO, SAP reference IMG, then the cross application component. Here, SAP business partner. Under that business partner, basic setting, and here you can see the number range and grouping. So first we need to define the number range. So already there are a lot of number range are created. So we need to make sure the numbering which we are creating, it should not overlap with the existing one. Otherwise, system will give an error. So for import supplier, let's say here I give IP and the number range. Let me give the small interval I'll give. Let's see if it's not created already. Okay. So I have created a number range IP and I have given a small interval 750 to 760, 999, 750 to 999, 760. And then here, define grouping and assign the number range. So in grouping, click on the new entry. I'll create the grouping IP01. Similarly, for practice, you can create the grouping for export EX01 and the short name. I'll give short name as import and description as a import number, import supplier, or let's import BP. And here we can assign that number and just we created IP and save it. It will ask for TR. So the first step, we created the grouping, that is IP01. We have, before that, we need to create a number range, and that number range we need to assign to this grouping. Similarly, for practice, you can create the export number range and create the grouping for export and assign that number. Now, we will create vendor account group for export. Again, we need in SPRO. This is maintained at finance level, finance accounting. Vendor account group we have to create. Under that, account receivable and payable. Here you can see customer account and supplier account. So in the today's session, we will discuss only the supplier vendor master. So I will show you the vendor account group, but similarly here you can follow the same path, and in customer account group, you can create the customer grouping as well. Now here you can see the defined account group with screen layout. So I'll again click on the new entry. You can provide the different name or same name. I will provide the same name as IP01. And this is the import supplier. And save it. Now we have to provide the number range. First we need to create the number range. Similar, we just created for BP grouping that EP. Similarly, we'll create here, sorry, IP. I'm not sure if this already exists. Oh, thank God. IP. Yeah, so this is we created. If it's already exist, then we need to make sure it's not overlap. If it is overlapping, we need to change the number range. And here is option external or internal. If you, user want to provide the number, then we need to select external. And if we want system to generate the number, then we need to select it as a, we need to ignore this one, keep it as a blank. Now, as I said, we have a configuration, whether we want both numbers should be same or different, BP number and vendor number. If you want both BP number and vendor number should be same, that time we need to create, always select this vendor account group as external. Otherwise, system will give an error. So let me show you. For now, let me save. I'll show you. The system will throw an error. And I will assign this number range to that vendor account group that we created, IP01. Now we need to third step. First, we created BP grouping, assign the number range. Second step, we create vendor account group and assign the number range. In the third step, we have to assign BP grouping to vendor account group, so that when we'll extend that BP to vendor account group, that BP number will be generated. Vendor number will be generated. Here, again, cross application component, there is a master data synchronization option. Yeah, here. Customer vendor integration. Okay. Now here, define number range, define number assignment for direction BP to vendor. Here, click on the new entry, and just now we created the grouping, that is BP grouping, IP01, and this is vendor account group. Vendor account group also we kept the same name, IP01. And here we have option whether we want the same number range or different number range. So if we click on the same number range, see we're getting the number range for account group has not been defined externally. So if you want the both numbers should be same, that time we need to keep vendor account group number range as a external. Okay, so here we created IP. This one I'll keep as external, save it, go back, and now here I will give IP01, IP01, and same number. Oh, sorry, it's IP01. See, so you need to remember, if you want the both numbers should be same, that time this vendor account group number should be need to select always as the external only, and save it. So this is the configuration we have done. The next thing, field group selection. So as I said, whether we want particular field to be optional, mandatory, or we want to suppress, that can also be controlled at vendor account group level and BP grouping level. So let me show you for vendor account group level. So the same path where we created the vendor account group. So IP01 we created. At the time of creation of account group only, we have this field status. So in general data, there are multiple fields. Again, for address, these are the fields. So we have options, whether you want to suppress or make it as a mandatory or optional, or you want only for display purpose. So this can be controlled at grouping level. So let me make search term and the name one as a mandatory in business partner. So what will happen when I will create a business partner with this grouping IP01, system will ask for search term and name one. Otherwise, we will not able to save that business partner. Okay, so let me save the changes. Now we will create the vendor. The configuration is done. We'll create the supplier. So BP grouping, we just created IP01, import BP. And here we need to provide the name. So we'll give flower supplier here. Search term, I'll provide flower. US. And I'll try to save. So here is the option. You can first check if everything is okay. Yeah, we'll get a message error free. Now save it. So now look at the number. System will then generate the number for which we have provided the number range. So for BP, the numbering was internal, right? So the system has generated the number 750. And now in the configuration, we have provided the number range interval from ending with 750 to 760. And this is the first BP created. Now, when we extend this BP to vendor role, the same number will be generated. As in the configuration, we have check on the tick box. Now let's try to extend this BP to vendor role. So we have two types of role in vendor. One is at the purchase organization, and the second is at the company code level. So there are two roles, FLVN00 and FLVN01. So let's extend to FLVN01. Now, if you see in every role, FLVN0 or FLVN01, or there will be customer role, FLCU01, FLCU00. So this general data screen is common. So even if you try to create FLVN01 directly before creating a business partner, so system will generate the business partner automatically in the backend, because here you need to provide that general data information. And as I said, this general data is common across all the role. So even if you try to create a vendor directly, still you need to provide this general data information, that is a business partner information. Now here we'll click on the purchasing organization. For which purchasing organization, here we can maintain all those purchasing organization which is required. So let's say 170 and transfer. Now here there are the different fields. So in vendor account group, will control which fields. As I said, we have two types of grouping, BP grouping and vendor account grouping. So BP grouping will control only the general data screen, that is the F0000 general data screen, all the general data information for that. But vendor account group will control the information at this role. So for example, I want this order currency should be mandatory. So for this role, IP01 grouping, we need to make the order currency as a mandatory. And let me try to check. If there is any field mandatory, I will get an error message. I did. Okay, so this is for language. This is always mandatory. We need to select as English and try to save it. Okay, I'm getting error because required field name 2 has no entry. Again, city is mandatory. So if you're missing any field that is a mandatory, and we will not able to save it, we need to enter the data and try to save it. Vendor save. Now in vendor general data, here you can see the vendor number 750. Same number is, this is the business partner number, and this is the vendor number. So same number is created. Account group also you can see IP01. So there are the different tables for vendor masters. So in SE16N, there are three tables. The first, BUT000, where you can see the business partner general data. Then LFA1, here you can see the business partner purchase organization level data. And LFB1, where we can see the company code level data. So for now, we extended the supplier to only purchasing view. You can extend that supplier for company code level as well. So here, similarly, if you go to FLVN00, F5 vendor, and instead of your purchasing, we'll get company code. If you select on the company code, and if you click on the company code, here we can maintain for which company code this BP is applicable. So we can enter those company code as well. So there are three tables: BUT000 for general data, LFA1 for purchasing view, that is FLVN01, and LFB1, that is for company code view, that is for FLVN00. Now we will see so now this field selection group, what is the BP grouping? I hope this part is clear. So there can be also case in the general data. For example, in general data screen, there is a field which is not required for business partner customer, but it's required for vendor account group. So let me show you, for example, here in general data. So just now we created 950. Sorry, not this one. Anyway, so let's say there is a field here, transportation zone. Mostly this is required for customer, but this is coming in general data level. So that can be also handled through customer account group, not BP account group in that type. Meaning, so for example, transportation group. So this field is coming at general data level. So for general data, we have BP grouping, vendor account group, and customer group, customer account group. So in BP grouping, as I said, BP grouping controls the general data screen, and this transportation zone comes in general data level. This is coming at general data. So in BP grouping, we will make it as optional because it's not required for vendor. For vendor account group, I will also keep it as optional, but it's required for customer. So that time, when you will create a business partner, system will not ask for transportation zone. When we extend that BP role to vendor role, still it will not ask. But when we extend that BP role to customer role, system will ask for transportation group. So that is the purpose of BP grouping and vendor account group. And if you want the customer account group, we can also create that customer account group similarly to vendor account group. So now next topic, we'll see one-time supplier.